disciple and walk with them, even in a time of need, especially in a time of need. It's easier when when life is easy, but it's harder when it's tough. And that was a huge lesson for me, because I've been lacking in that area. So it's time to, and I'm doing it now. So it's accountability, both ways, you and me together.
I already alluded to one of the things that I've learned, and that was about how important community is, and encouraging one another through just being together and serving together. You just can't emphasize how important that is. When we went to the Bush Church and we're teaching them, or trying to teach them, the language and the alphabet, but to see those ladies get a Bible that they've never ever had before in their life, and to come back the next day with it wrapped up in a cloth. They cherished the Word of God. And I thought, how much I take that for granted. How many Bibles do I have in my house, and how many different translations? And these people were just so excited to have the Word of God and to be able to learn to read it. And if you follow Shauna, she's talked about them going back, and a lady saying to her, "We are hungry," and Shauna's thinking, "Oh, here, we've got some food," and she said, "No, we are hungry for the Word of God." And just another reminder to me to say, how hungry am I for the Word of God? And then, we laugh about the chickens, but that was a huge sacrifice for them. They gave us a chicken it was the second day. They gave us one chicken plus some other produce, and then the next day, 2 more chickens. I mean, we laugh about that, but they were giving out a heart of love for what we had done for them, and just, again, challenging myself, how sacrificially do I give?
For me, just going there and seeing, we did little worship nights every night at the Bell's house, and then shared everything we learned. Shared one thing that we learned that day. And for me, the main thing that stuck with me is just how ungrateful I get about the things I even have here that they've never even heard of in Africa. Just seeing how they have so much joy in having so little, and how I can be so ungrateful for having so much. And so just taking nothing for granted, even in the small things for me. Just sometimes we take for granted, say the sunshine and see how hot it is, but we realize, wow, this sun grows these people's vegetables and fruits in Africa, and sometimes we just take it for granted. So just being more mindful and cherishing a lot more in life.
Something that stuck out to me was, even though we don't speak the same language, we can still communicate with one another in a way. And I just thought that encouraging, because they don't have a lot of stuff, and we all have all this technology that we use, and we take that for granted. And I just learned that I shouldn't take stuff for granted as well.
For me, I think the thing that I took away or was challenged by was just the trust I have in God. I think in ways I don't fully trust in God, and I think that was really brought out on this trip in my trust needed myself. And so I think through this trip I saw how I need God in every way and not just some ways, and depending on myself, took that away from different areas where I could have pursued more relationships with the people there, or been more involved, more purposeful with the people there. So I think trusting the Lord in everything, not just the things that are easy, was what I took away.
Probably for me, was I was a little bit nervous going into this trip, but the Lord helped me get through my anxiety through the trip, and I'm just really glad to be back in America.
I think one of the neatest things, and Ali alluded to it a little bit, was just seeing some of the really specific things that we prayed for that were answered, and some of the specific things that we had prayed for from January leading up to the trip. One of the things that we had talked a lot about was, what if a stranger sits behind Leah on a plane and is like sneezing? Like, what would that do? We have to sit in that for 8 hours. And there was not one single plane ride the entire way to Africa that we had anybody sitting behind us other than ourselves, just the way like our seats kept getting moved. So we got moved to the back of the plane, or we got moved and these people had to be behind us. And that's just a silly example of something that we saw just as a family and as a team, things that we were praying for that happened. And so I think just being encouraged to pray in really specific ways to the Lord. But I think for me, I have spent a decent amount of time overseas on short-term trips. So I think we figured out I'd probably spent about 53 weeks overseas. I've never been overseas to visit missionaries that we had done life with on this side of their mission field. So when Joe and Shauna lived in the mission house right over here, we used to meet every Friday and we would walk. And we would just walk and pray. And Emily, then when Emily moved in, she would join us and we would just walk and pray and talk. And so to have experienced church life with them here, and then to get to go there and to see their life. I asked Joe, one of the days we were driving, I said, Joe, it took us about $18,000 to get all of our people to come here for less than 3 weeks. Would you rather just have that money? Because they had talked about how they're going to be able to send Shauna home for Christmas, but probably not Joe, because that's $2,500 basically a ticket, and they just don't have that. And so they have budgeted that Shauna can come home every year for Christmas, and Joe probably won't often get to come home with her, which, by the way, is something I totally want to start challenging our church to figure out, like, surely we can bring Joe home for Christmas. So that's something else. But so I asked Joe, I said, Joe, would you rather just have this money? That's a lot of money for us to come. And I mean, I could barely finish talking, and he was like, absolutely not. Seeing our church family, holding your hands, hugging you, praying with you, singing with you, those are the things that will sustain us in ministry for the next 2 years. And so please keep coming. Please keep bringing people. Please keep praying for us. He said, Farmville is still our church family. We go to our church here in Angola, and then we rush home and hurry to get the live stream of your church, or our church pulled up, and we worship with you. And so he said, you all coming is what we've been waiting to hear and to say, and some of the things that we need to process and the things that we need counsel for and prayer for. We have had some hard things through Shauna's health struggles, and he said, and we've just told people, it's okay. Our church is coming. Our church is coming to minister to us and to care for us. We're going to be okay. As long as we can just make it until they get there, they're going to be there. And so I think for me, that was a really precious side of understanding how important our prayers are, and our Facebook messages, and our support, and the things that you're sending, and the things that we're giving, and the ways that we're interacting with those missionaries, and their encouragement kind of being there on the field.
Well, she said it much better than I was going to say it, but that's essentially what I would say. Is I saw the value of the sending church, of caring for their missionaries, and I think that it's one of those things that you think about, you pray for, you talk about, but there's something about you physically being there, your presence being there to minister to them. And that was one of the themes that Joe and Shauna kept coming back to, was just a simple thing like helping them build the screen-in porch, or coming and seeing their church and seeing what it's like to go into the bush. Those things were things that they said we're going to continue to minister to them for days, weeks, months, even perhaps years to come, because he said sometimes when they try to explain to us things that are frustrating or difficult, and it's just hard to put into words. He said, for example, one of the struggles that we kept bumping into is, You can't use your credit card or debit card there in Angola. They don't take the Visa or American Express or any of those things. So the only way to get money is to go to the ATM with your card and pull it out. Well, that's all fine and it works great until the end of the month. And then everybody goes to the ATM and the ATMs are all gone. And there may be a 3-hour line to the ATM just to get money for the week. And we saw that. We saw kind of what that looked like and how they had to think through every little logistical detail to make a trip out to the bush. And those types of things now, when I talk to Joe on the phone, he just shares with me, it's been a hard day, I had to go to the ATM. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. And so those are the types of things I think that were of great value. And then obviously just being able to see the work that they have to know how to pray for them and to know some of the unique challenges that they have, I think is a huge value. And so again, that was huge for me. And then I would couple that with the value of having pastors to lead their churches to care about the Word of God. One of the struggles that they face there in Angola is they've been taught a lot of bad tradition in their churches. They just do things because that's what they've heard and not really based upon the Word of God. And so that's one of the challenges Joe faces is training up new pastors to love the Word, to be sustained by it, to go out and lead it and teach it. And he says that that's one of the biggest challenges they face is training other young pastors to go out and to be into these bush areas and to share. And so just to see that as the Word of God goes out, it goes out in power, it transforms people's lives. But to the degree that we rely upon anything else, we're really crippling ourselves and shortchanging the mission of God as we go out. So just seeing that firsthand was eye-opening for me as well. So wanting to implement even these things, just to be reminded here at Farmdale, we stand upon the Word of God, and we are to build upon that foundation of Jesus Christ as he's shown in the Scriptures, and to be edified in those ways. And so that was a reminder to me of those things. I was very thankful for that. I think that's all that we want to share in terms of things that we learned. But we want to invite you to pray as we seek to pray with us. Pray for the